98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com presents the Mid-Columbia Today Show with Mark Bailey. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive. Now, here's Mark Bailey.
It is 8:05 in the morning. Good morning. I'm Mark Bailey. Cameron Eisenberg is producing. It is a Tuesday. If you're listening to us live, the 7th of July. If you're on the podcast, it might be a different date or time for all I know. Here's what we're doing today. Cindy Thieman's with us. Hood River Watershed Group. Going to talk about what they're working on at Powerdale, among other things. We'll do that. Second half of the program, we start with our Klickitat County primary election interviews. We're scheduled to have with us Sheriff's candidate Tony Warren on the phone. We'll talk to him. There are 3 sheriff's candidates seeking to advance to the general election in November, and there are 3 county commission candidates trying to do the same thing. And we'll be talking to all those folks in the next couple of weeks. So that's what we've got coming up this morning, and we're going to get right to things here and tell you about what this day has meant and what it means, at least to some people. This day in 1865, 4 people were hanged in Washington, D.C. for conspiring with John Wilkes Booth to assassinate President Abraham Lincoln. Lewis Powell, David Harrell, George Atzerodt, and Mary Surratt, the first woman executed by the federal government. 1898, President William McKinley signed the Newlands Resolution approving the annexation of the Republic of Hawaii. 1930, construction began on Boulder Dam, now known, of course, as Hoover Dam. 1948, 6 female U.S. Navy reservists became the first women to be sworn into the regular Navy. 1976, the U.S. Military Academy at West Point included female cadets for the first time as 119 women joined the class of 1980. 1981, President Ronald Reagan announced he was nominating Arizona Judge Sandra Day O'Connor to become the first female justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. 2005, terrorist bombings in 3 underground stations and a double-decker bus killed 52 victims and 4 bombers in the worst attack on London since World War II. 2010, Los Angeles police charged Lonnie Franklin Jr. in the city's grim sleeper serial killings. Franklin, who was sentenced to death for killing of 9 women and a teenage girl, died in prison in March 2020. 2013, Andy Murray became the first British man in 77 years to win the Wimbledon title. He beat Novak Djokovic 6-4, 7-5, 6-4 in the final. And in 2016, Micah Johnson, a black Army veteran who served in Afghanistan, opened fire on Dallas police, killing 5 officers in an act of vengeance for the fatal police shootings of black men. The attack ended with Johnson being killed by a bomb delivered by a police robot. Our days for today, it is Global Forgiveness Day today. It's National Dive Bar Day for whatever reason. I know there are some people who are into going to those places. It's Tell the Truth Day, which I might suggest you ought to do every day, but I guess especially today. And it's Father-Daughter Take a Walk Together Day today, which is kind of a nice thought. Our food today, first of all, on the entree side, when made with the right cheese, it's National Macaroni Day today. Then we have desserts for you. It's National Strawberry Sundae Day today. That sounds pretty good. And it's Chocolate Day today. One of the many chocolate days we seem to find out there. And there's no specifics day. It's just chocolate. So light, milk, dark, white, whatever. Whatever you have your chocolate with, it's just Chocolate Day today. So there you go for what it's worth. May not be a whole lot. 8:08 in the morning. When we come back, Cindy Thieman's with us right after this.
At the Springs at Mill Creek Assisted Living Community, we believe in living with purpose and enjoying life to its fullest. Nestled at 1201 West 10th Street, The Dalles, our community offers more than just a place to stay. Imagine dining on your schedule from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., choosing your meals from a full menu that suits your taste and lifestyle. Here, every day is an opportunity to thrive, connect, and embrace the joys of life. Discover a vibrant community where you decide how to spend your day. Visit the Springs at Mill Creek because your best life is waiting.
You've created a cool indoor retreat. Now let Carrier provide the quiet, efficient cooling you can depend on all summer with a range of innovative cooling solutions that deliver premium comfort and energy savings. Your local Carrier dealer, Oregon Equipment, looks forward to keeping you comfortable while saving you money throughout the year. Yep, they've been servicing our community since 1946. Living local, shopping local, and supporting local. OregonEquipment.com. Carrier, for the world we share.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
And we're back here at 8:10 in the morning. Cindy Thieman's with us from Hood River Watershed Group. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning.
Well, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it as usual.
Yes.
Let's talk Powerdale a little bit because we haven't done that in a while.
Sure.
We probably should maybe refresh people's memory. You guys talked to the county as a group with some other partners, about 5 or 6 months ago. I think it was during the wintertime.
Yeah. And, we did talk with the county commissioners a while back, about this project. And this has been in the works for quite a while. The main stem of the Hood River has a lot of importance for our local fish populations. And we, about a year and a half ago, worked with Interfluve, a local restoration design company, to do an analysis of opportunities along the main stem of the river to improve fish habitat. And the site with the powerhouse on it, the old powerhouse, which, as we know, no longer generates power after the dam was removed, was one of the sites that we felt really could use some improvement in terms of habitat. And also, I think as we've all seen, that powerhouse has deteriorated and become a real magnet for trash and graffiti and all sorts of nefarious activities, it seems.
Dumping ground, homeless site. I mean, I could start going through the list of I saw the pictures of it. It was not good.
Yeah. It's pretty creepy.
So it wasn't very, very good out there. Now, I know a lot of levels to the project here.
Right.
And it sounds like you're getting started at least on the fringes of this.
Yeah. So we just engaged with, hired an engineering company. We did a competitive bid process. A company called Tetra Tech won the contract to design the removal of the powerhouse and the habitat restoration associated with that, because the powerhouse sits on top of a giant, pile of riprap,
right.
And it's all within the historic 100-year floodplain.
When we start talking about restoring or removing something like this, I mean, I started to say restore, but this is removal, right? If I remember right.
This is removing the powerhouse.
Right. There are a lot of complications to that, aren't there? And I'm thinking especially what might be in there within the construction we don't know about.
Yeah, and so they have done, so when Pacific Corps removed the dam, they did some analysis, and really Kate Conley with Columbia Land Trust should be here. She's got this stuff off the top of her head easily, but there was some analysis of like the soils and some preliminary information on the building itself. So some of that's been done. I think there's a little bit more we will have to do as far as contaminant evaluation, but there has been quite a bit done, and there's also been the cultural resource aspect that was completed. The analysis and the reporting to the State Historic Preservation Office was completed when they took the dam out.
Okay, because of course the powerhouse does have the historical part of this
very
involved.
much so, yeah.
Even though, of course, again, if you go down there and look at the building, again, the building's pretty much, I mean,
it's sad how, it's been so damaged.
It's been damaged, it's been defaced, and frankly, just aging, too. I mean, I would imagine it's probably not that safe to be around it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
At this point. So you get the design work taken care of.
Yeah.
And you work on and the plans for this. Is there a timeline at this point, or is that still a monetary subject?
Yeah, we do have some substantial fundraising to do. The county has been a great partner on that. This won't be a project funded with any kind of tax money, so this will all be grant funded project. Yeah.
Where do you go find grant funds for tearing out old buildings? I mean, I know where you get some of your funding from, but this is a little different.
Well, I would say it's not a grant to tear out the old building. Okay. It's a grant to improve habitat and the recreational functionality of the site. And so we'll be pursuing both kind of recreation project or recreation fund grants and restoration grants. So twofold, depending on which component of the project it is.
I'll say, I would think simply removing that is going to have some restorative value, isn't it? Just from simple removal, or we need also get through the riprap part?
Correct. Yeah, we it wouldn't be a project that we would do. The watershed group would do without taking out all of the riprap, because that's all in the floodplain and sitting on top of where the river, used to be.
So. You get that. How big a job is? I mean, I know getting the building out's a fairly large job.
Yeah.
Getting out the riprap, how big a job is that?
It's just taking time, and also the trick about a lot of these projects when you're removing, we call it just fill, is where do you put it? And so that'll definitely be part of the design process. As to where's the closest place you can find to put it responsibly,
and then this gets into what's down there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sure, yeah. I would suspect that right below the building, maybe there's. Yeah, I don't know. I've not been involved in a project that removed an old powerhouse.
Yeah, because I mean, I would think that would be. You mentioned finding a place you can responsibly put it. I would imagine you guys have had the experience of removing riprap before in other locations, but not without this added layer of difficulty.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it, too, is just the riprap around the sides that I suspect doesn't have anything in it, and it's just, clean riprap.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, I imagine it's a fairly easy process. It's
probably
finding a place that will take it, basically.
Yeah, and the closer you can... the closer the better.
Now, can you use? I mean, I'm speaking from ignorance here, but can you use some of that old riprap in the restorative process? Is that possible?
Not so much, because the riprap's not. You don't want to put that. We wouldn't put that in the stream. So riprap. It's a good question. Riprap has a different character than round rock. Okay. So I guess it's the process of evolution. You see round rock in streams, and that's what the aquatic insects and the fish have all evolved to use. And so riprap, the angular quality of it is just not as good. I mean,
it does not work as well for fish habitat.
Right. I mean, riprap isn't. Fish can't spawn in riprap.
Okay.
For example.
So once you get all that removed, then what happens from there? I know also that there's the added element of this there's an intention of some recreation here as well for people.
I think it's going to improve the recreational value of the site. Right now, there's this large building and riprap. Yeah. You can't easily walk. It's not as great to walk in that area. So you can imagine sort of a nicer kind of. I don't know if it'll be a beach, but there is kind of a little bit of a beach, sandy area kind of there. So I just think that that kind of area is so limited along the river for people, the public to access that adding a little bit I think will be a benefit. Also, there's people that will walk across the railroad bridge, which is really unsafe, and the railroad is not okay with people doing that.
No, it's trespassing is the legal term.
Legally, it's trespassing. It's such a liability. It's dangerous, but still, people will cross over with coolers and small children to go to the beach across there. And so I'm hoping that this will make people like, well, we don't have to, it'll be a little less tempting to do that, and just can just be right there,
Yeah, but it does also start to, maybe open up some other options as well down the road for is maybe you do a little bit of improvement down there.
Yeah, and so the habitat, there'll be fish habitat improvement for sure. So I think it's going to be a nice combination of nicer for the recreating public and better fish habitat.
So in the end, I mean, right now it sounds like, again, as far as when all this can happen, kind of just depends on how funding evolves.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're hoping that this project happens maybe in 2028.
Okay. All right, so
if the funding, all the funding gets aligned and ducks in a row, maybe 2029.
I've asked funding, I guess, but what I guess I haven't asked is, do we know how much total is needed for this?
We don't yet. We really don't yet. That'll be a question you can ask me in maybe 6 months or something.
Probably depends on that, on what that that design shows you of what has to happen to remove that building.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's those elements.
I'd imagine once you get the building removed, then it becomes much more like projects you're used to.
Right.
At that stage.
For sure.
Because I heard this mentioned during the county commission meeting, I'll go ahead and ask this. We mentioned there is a historic aspect to this.
Right.
What sort of are there? And
part of the design, I'm glad you brought that up, because part of the design process, there will be, some kind of historic acknowledgement, whether it's I don't know if we'll want a physical kiosk or whether we'll want some posts, like a post with a QR code on it, but something or maybe we have something. They had to do that already for the State Historic Preservation Office for the dam removal process, so we'll probably look to that for some of that historical documentation that's already there, and maybe just kind of bring that forward, make it a little more accessible for the public to see.
Because I would guess there's not a lot salvageable for that building.
Yeah,
it doesn't look. Having seen it, doesn't look good.
Yeah,
it seems like it's kind of
Unfortunately,
if there was going to be historic salvaging of it, that moment probably passed long ago.
And they kept it. The complicating thing about this is, when the dam came out, and I didn't live here at the time, so I wasn't part of the conversations. But what I heard is that there were ideas of, this is such a cool building, and maybe it could be converted into a brew pub or, something. But the problem is, first and foremost, the conservation easement that exists for those 400 acres of the Powerdale corridor doesn't allow any kind of commercial use.
Right. It was set. It was really set up for. Basically, once it got turned over by Pacific Power, it's like this is going to be for recreational, environmental purposes.
And habitat and existing recreational use.
That of course, I guess there's a powerhouse. I imagine there's some infrastructure down there, but I would just be going, well, how much would it take? Even if you could do it, how much would it take to do it?
Well, and then the access road is not, can you imagine? I mean, more increased, and the road down, it's,
that's what I mean. The infrastructure isn't really there to do anything with that building anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And by now, of course, it's been dilapidated to the point that it needs to be removed regardless of what else was going to occur down there.
Yeah, so. I think that's how most people feel.
So we'll watch it. In about 6 months, we'll ask about if we have a price tag on this, because that's going to be, I think, the key question here.
Yeah.
You're also mentioning the Watershed Group working on, and we have a couple minutes left here, an in-stream.
Yeah, so we do just up the river. We have just started a project. Right, a little bit below where the Powerdale Dam used to be, and that is increasing adding some side channels that are in that old floodplain. So when they put in the conduit, that pipe to send water down to the powerhouse, what they did is created a berm, kind of cut off that floodplain and create, by creating a berm along the river, so that then they could have their pipe that wouldn't get washed away during the winter. And so that really disconnected the river and its floodplain over on, like if you're facing downstream, it's over on the left side of the river. So what we're doing is kind of removing some of those, the fill at connection points, so that we'll have another perennial side channel, and we call it like off-channel habitat, sort of off the main channel.
Sure. And
it's good for different life stages of fish. That the younger life stages.
Yeah.
It's gives them cover. The velocities are lower, and these are channels that there's one there already that we're kind of mimicking, and every year that we see coho spawning there. There could very well be steelhead that spawn there as well. It's just a nice little channel with the right size of round rock, for spawning. It's cool to see.
In other words, this is everything Powerdale isn't in terms of fees to do this.
Yeah, exactly. So we started that. That's exciting.
How long does it take a project like that?
Well, it's probably going to take really start to finish probably a month and a half.
Okay.
No, I mean the intense construction work, maybe that's a month, 3-4 weeks. But you've got a lot of things in the beginning, and then at the end you got to kind of clean things up, and
Oh, sure. Yeah. You got to make sure you put everything back where you found it, basically.
Yeah.
So basically, this is a seasonal project, though.
Yep.
That you're working on at this stage.
Yeah.
Anything else coming down the pipeline here? I guess pipeline probably advisably, but got anything else coming up here in the next little while in the planning stages?
Yep.
Or is Powerdale kind of a big enough?
It's big, but no. The other really big one we're working on is with the East Fork Irrigation District. They have an kind of an outdated fish screen that for their irrigation water, and so that is under design for. Creating a new fish screen. So that's going to be a big one and very expensive. We're in the fundraising process right now.
I was gonna say the fish screens are interesting because there seems like there's so many different factors you have to take into account for making it work at a given location.
Yeah.
And there's somebody that there's a company here that does that, doesn't there? Fish screen?
Yeah, so Farmers Conservation Alliance
them.
has a really cool fish screen. That is, sort of not a screen that turned out worked well for this site. Or that wasn't the preference for this site. There's a lot of sediment on the East Fork Hood River.
Right.
And so there was a desire to have something that was actually out, the screen out in the river. And so I can tell you that is the direction that there are going to be these cylindrical, horizontal screens. It's like they kind of look like drums.
Yeah.
There'll be I think there's going to be 5 of them actually in the river.
Right.
During the summer. So that'll be a dramatic change from what it is now.
Okay.
But that's a very complex project, and I'll be happy to talk about it another
because we are
a few months.
Well, beyond the hour, we got to run anyway. We've got another guest coming on, but
perfect.
Cindy Thieman from Hood River Watershed Group. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Mark.
Bottom of the hour news is next.
Summer heat is here. Don't sweat it out in your vehicle if your AC isn't blowing cold or not blowing at all. Call the experts at Precision Automotive. Their certified team is trained to repair all air conditioning systems, including those using the new 1234YF refrigerant. And they offer honest, competitive pricing. Call Chris or Alina today at 541-296-5153 and get that AC blowing cold again. That's Precision Automotive at 541-296-5153 or online at precisionautotd.com.
Hello, I'm Doug Stepina with the City of Hood River. As our community plans for the future, we're taking a close look at 2 important challenges. In an emergency, our police facility must remain operational even after a major earthquake or fire. Today, it does not meet modern seismic or backup power standards. At the same time, housing shortages continue to put pressure on the workforce that keeps our community running. This month, the City Council is considering whether to refer 2 general obligation bonds to voters this November to address these needs. Visit hoodriver.gov/bond to learn more and stay informed.
Coffee for Mid-Columbia Today guests is provided by Hood River Coffee Roasters, the gorgeous local coffee roasters, on Tucker Road on the Heights in Hood River.
It is 8:31 in the morning on Mid-Columbia today. Federal immigration officials asked Oregon's law enforcement agencies for support at least 329 times over the past year, marking a sharp rise of potential vulnerabilities in the state's sanctuary protections. Oregon's Criminal Justice Commission released the annual figures in collaboration with Oregon's Department of Justice, which operates a hotline for Oregonians to report instances with law enforcement or public bodies in the state assist with immigration enforcement without a judicial warrant. State regulators are seeking a steep hike in fees for Oregon's nascent psilocybin industry, a move that critics say would push the already high price tag of a legal mushroom trip even higher while causing more businesses to close. The Oregon Health Authority in late June announced proposed fee increases that would affect virtually every corner of the industry, aiming to financially sustain the groundbreaking program. Among the biggest changes will be doubling annual license fees from $10,000 to $20,000 for psilocybin manufacturers and service centers where adults 21 and older take supervised trips. The potential fee increases come after a wave of service center closures, raising doubts about the viability of Oregon's legal psilocybin experiment that voters approved in 2020. Washington's food stamp overpayments and underpayments ticked up this year, and the state could face tens of millions of dollars in added costs if accuracy does not improve. The state's error rate was 6.98% in the 2025 fiscal year, with most mistakes coming from overpayments to recipients under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, according to new federal data. That's well below the national average of about 10.6%, but still not good enough to allow the state to avert punishment from the president's signature tax cut and spending law that congressional Republicans approved last year. Columbia Gorge Community College announced it will participate in the 8th year of the prestigious Metallica Scholars Initiative, supported by a generous grant aimed at supporting the career readiness of CGCC students within its advanced manufacturing, aviation maintenance, construction technology, and electromechanical technology programs. The college will continue to provide high-demand skills training in the Columbia Gorge. A 6-time MSI participant, CGCC has received nearly $200,000 in support of those programs through the initiative's existence. It is 8:33 in the morning. Our current temperatures at this time, it is 62 degrees in Stevenson, 69 in the Dalles, 65 in Hood River.
When it's time for new floor covering, there's no better place than Affordable Floors and Abbey Carpets. Let Larry, Morgan, or Shelby guide you to your perfect floor. Affordable Floors, 1512 Osprey Drive across from Windmaster Market in Hood River.
When you need septic tank service of any kind, call A1 Septic Tank Service. From installation, drain fields, and tank pumping to inspections and portable toilet sales, A1 does it all. Serving the Columbia Gorge since 1964. Learn more at a1septictankservice.com.
Hey, it's Zach from Del Carpine Automotive. You know those tall Sprinter vans that look like they could secretly double as apartments? Yeah, we work on those, and we know them really well. Whether it's your adventure rig, work van, or mystery mobile full of camping gear and snacks from 2022, we've got you covered. We're now just 10 minutes up the hill in our great new location in Hood River. Come see us. From Mercedes and Ford, big rigs to Sprinters, no jobs too big or small. At Del Carpine, we work on them all. Family owned and locally trusted.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bi-Coastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
And it is now 8:37 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today, and well, we embark again on the campaign trail. We didn't get long off of that one right now. At Klickitat County, the state of Washington, they've got primary elections, including they've got a 3-way sheriff's race, 3-way county commission race. So over the next 2 weeks, we've got 6 candidates to talk to before those ballots start to come out for the August primary in the state of Washington. And we're going to start out with Tony Warren, who's running for Klickitat County Sheriff. Tony, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Tony, as we always like to do with our candidates, we just like to start out with, for those who aren't familiar, just to ask you to just give us a little background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so obviously Tony Warren running for Klickitat County Sheriff. A little bit about my background in my life. I grew up around law enforcement and grew up on the west end of Skamania and what would be considered rural Washougal. I kind of grew up out in the sticks. My father was in law enforcement for his career, worked in Skamania County, had other family members that were, and of course a lot of the family friends were as well for Camas PD or Clark County and whatnot. So I had those influences in my life at an early age. Got started in law enforcement myself when I went through a reserve academy for Skamania County, and the class was in Clark County with the sheriff's office there, and I did that in 97. So did that for quite a few years, and Skamania County hired me part-time through the holidays, through the summer, Memorial Labor Day. Probably my second year doing that. Maybe more recently, my first year, I decided I should probably do that for a career. Had a lot of fun doing it. Hadn't necessarily considered it for the full-time career before that. I had a decent job and house, and family was going fine in Washougal there, and I decided to make the change and try to do this full-time. And at that time, a lot of agencies wanted college education, so I went through an online program through Colorado Tech while working full-time and part-time, and oftentimes a second part-time job, and got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Then started applying more. Almost ended up down in Douglas County in Roseburg, and they had some budget cuts, and were only able to hire one instead of three. And out of the 20 or so that applied, there's only 3 of us left on that list. But at the same time, I'd tested for white salmon, unfinished background there, and so I landed in white salmon. Started there in 2008. Started as an officer, obviously. Was there 11 years. Dedicated detective for 5 years, doing the drug cases and child cases and anything that required additional follow-up. Was a training officer there, firearms instructor. And then I came over to Klickitat County. I've been here for 5 years. I'm currently the detective sergeant here, so I oversee our investigations. I oversee our training program for field training. I coordinate that. I oversee our warrant team now. I'm commanding that. And then just a few other little things. I do firearms, manage that program here, and some little things as well. So kind of involved in a little bit of everything here, I like to say. Additionally, for supervisory training stuff, I just recently finished my FBI LEDA, which is a 3-part course in supervisory and executive and command college courses. Of course, the state leadership courses we do when we get promoted, and a handful of other little things. But that's a little bit about me, and decided last year, when we look at who's going to be the next sheriff for Klickitat County, and talking to the guys I work with, and we didn't really want to see somebody from the outside that we don't know come in and make any huge drastic changes. Of course, we need to have some changes, but we don't want to see the world turned upside down. So I decided, throw my hat in and go down this fun campaign trail.
So you've kind of started down with always our traditional second question on this show with candidates, which is, why you decided to run for this office. You mentioned the desire within the department to see someone internally maintain the role as sheriff, but I would assume there's some other reasons for you as well.
Well, I like this community. I mean, I love Klickitat County. I think it's a great community from white salmon to Alderdale. You know, we've got quite the variety, and I really want to see this office make some improvements and progress to do the best it can to make sure we're meeting all the community needs and protecting everybody's safeties as well as their freedoms to the best of our ability.
So let's start out, because you just mentioned, white salmon to Alderdale. Klickitat County is very large, and one of the things I noted on your website, actually, you mentioned was trying to improve response times, and given the challenge of just the square footage that you have to navigate in Klickitat County, what sort of ideas do you have to try to improve those response times?
Yeah, we are, 90 miles wide and 2,400 square miles, if I remember right. 24,000 people if you include the cities. So we get a little busy, and we've got a big area to cover, and a lot of that's range timber and out east. So minimum staffing. I mean, we try to maintain 3. Lately, in the last few years, there's a lot of times we only have 2 cars on, and ideally we should have 4. So adding 3 or 4 people would be very significant to the department, not only just for coverage and response times, but wellness. They're getting time off. They can do the trainings they want. They're not overloaded and overwhelmed or behind all the time trying to get their cases done and whatnot. So finding some additional personnel is going to be very important to me so we can improve those response times and the efficiency in our calls and cases. Like I say, 3 to 4 would be huge, and that's probably a few years down the road. I think we could probably find some funding for 1 or 2, hopefully even in next year. I know we have some commissioners on board with working with us to do that. There's talks of possibly a public safety levy, but even without the safety levy, we should be able to find some funding for another 1 or 2.
Now, when you mentioned find funding, do you see areas where, and I'll get into seeking more funding in a bit and dealing with the county commission, but do you see areas right now when the resources you have where perhaps reallocation and a change in priorities might bring the opportunity to add an officer or 2?
Yes. We have some, I don't want to say wasteful spending, but I think there's areas in the department where we could shift some funds to get more personnel on the road or equipment and training and things like that. I have not gone through the budget line by line, but I do spend time talking with at least one commissioner that we will be doing that soon. And even areas like our fuel expenses to our vehicle maintenance, we could probably make some changes to save a little bit of money, but it's all going to add up,
Yeah, you mentioned the county commission. I think it's fair to say that in the situation with the current sheriff, at times the relationship with the county commission, at times this is unavoidable because of budget discussions, but it has been contentious at times. How would you look at trying to improve that?
Yeah, contentious is probably a good word for it. There's seemingly been some politics there and some angst over some issues like the jail, for example. That was kind of a weird deal the way that went down. And for me, I'll do everything I can to work with them and learn from them and take their advice anyways, or anybody for that matter. That's one of my bigger things is I don't know everything, and I have a lot to learn, and this department can grow with input from everybody on how to do things. So I'm a little more, I won't say a little more, but I am big on trying to work with these other departments and the commissioners to meet the goals of the department and the community without ruffling feathers or being stubborn.
Transparency and accountability was something I saw mentioned on your website, and those words can be defined in a lot of different ways. So I'll just simply ask you, in the role of sheriff, how do you define transparency and accountability to the community?
Well, when, we need to be open about what we're doing and meeting records requests and getting those things out there. And just due to staffing and training, sometimes we fall behind on those, or they're slow to get out, and that's not a good look. We need to streamline that, get caught up on that, and maintain it. But the amount of those is just kind of absurd. People that aren't even from this area are making constant requests and just bogs us down. So we may have to find additional personnel to help with that. So that goes with the transparency and just being open about what we're doing and not trying to, of course, we never try to hide anything in our day-to-day operations. Accountability, holding ourselves accountable, holding deputies accountable, and make sure we're meeting those expectations and make sure they know the expectations, right? That needs to be explained in kind of in a group setting, in a group effort. It's like, this is our goal. This is what we want to be achieving as the sheriff's office, and this is what me as an administrator would expect from people, and what would they expect of me, right? So one, having their back, and then having them support me, I think is important.
One thing I noted also in looking at some of your discussions online involve working with the prosecutor's office, and you as a detective obviously probably have to do that on pretty much a day-to-day basis. And you mentioned higher standards for evidence collection. What are you looking to try to do?
Well, when we get these larger operations and stuff, just making sure everything gets documented and you're everyone is checking all the boxes. And sometimes a lot of deputies, they're not collecting evidence on a regular basis, or they're not collecting a sexual assault kit on a regular basis. So there needs to be some refresher training there and make sure we're meeting the expectations of the prosecutor's office, because sometimes, as simple as somebody could fill out an evidence bag and they put the case number, they put the name, and maybe that's it. But then when it goes to trial, you might have the prosecutor looking at it being like, well, who found this item, or who sealed the bag, those types of things. And I know that's come up in the past, and that's something they would like to see, and that's something we need to do, obviously. I mean, there's evidence collecting 101, and you do anything long enough, and you do for so many years, and things change, but we need that refresher in there, and just making sure we're giving the prosecutor all that we can, as good as we can, so to make their job easier.
And what you get into here a little bit is training. That's something I also noted that you were making a priority in your campaign points, is keeping up with training, which I would imagine can be difficult to do given budget constraints, but and also staffing constraints as well. How do you see being able to? How do you intend to manage keeping the training up where it needs to be, while dealing with the constraints I just mentioned?
Yeah, so I think in the last couple of years, the training has improved. Even though I think it was last year, it could have been the year before, I want to say we only had like $5,000 in our annual training budget, which is not enough to do hardly anything. But the state requires a lot of trainings. There's a lot of online stuff, and honestly, some of it's really not applicable to Klickitat County, but it's stuff we have to do anyways. But I would like to get to where we're doing more localized training, bringing in trainers from other departments or working with other departments, because that's going to save a lot of money, doing those things in service and not having to pay overtime or travel expenses. And we do those every once in a while. We try to host events here, but not as much as we could or should. Of course, then we have to have a facility to do it, and those are things to work towards. I would like to ideally get to where a deputy can have a 4 or 5 day week-long training in a field of their choosing. I mean, obviously something that's going to be beneficial, but give them training in the areas they want instead of always being forced to have trainings maybe they don't, that we have to have, but maybe stuff that doesn't interest them. So getting them trained in their interest, I think, would be important. And we've talked about it, like if we're going to get to the point where we can do that, we might have to sacrifice somewhere else. You might have to run a person lean to be able to do that. And a lot of that's going to come down to them and what they want. So, but yeah, we, again, additional funding and trying to save expenses where we can as far as the travel, the overtime, and adjusting schedules so people can get those training needs. There's a lot of stuff out there that doesn't cost a whole lot, but a lot of it does. So it's a balancing act.
And finally, of course, one of the ways that departments can extend their dollars, if you will, is through the use of a solid reserve program. I know there's the Sheriff's Posse program in Klickitat County. What do you see as the future of that type of program and how it can be effectively utilized?
Well, I think the volunteerism in the posse is great. We've got all these community members, and they have additional training and first aid and stuff. And I keep trying to remind people that these are people that are out in the community that at least have first aid that honestly seems to be in excess of what we learn on patrol, and they might be the first person there to help you when you need it. So I think the posse's great. There might be some changes that need to be made there, or some image changes or improvements. Reserves are also great. We've been trying to add reserves. I know the last couple of years they've been trying to put together a class. We put people through backgrounds with, I think the city of Goldendale was trying to put it on. It hasn't happened. My understanding is this year they decided they just weren't going to be able to do it. Over the years, it seems the state shies away from it, and their requirements for hosting the training for those, which the agencies have to do, but their requirements for the trainers is kind of hard to attain. So, yes, more reserves would be great, but how do we do it? And the expenses that go along with that. You put somebody through a reserve academy, you got to put them through background, polygraph, and psych. So I would imagine total expense of $4,000 to $5,000 per person to do that.
didn't quite realize it was quite that high, but again, I learn a lot of things every day on this show. So the price tag on that obviously is fairly steep for what you're trying to do out of that. Tony Warren's been with us. He is running for Klickitat County Sheriff. Tony, thanks for taking the time to be with us in our audience this morning. We do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me do it by phone, too.
No problem. I understand you're busy there. We'll let you get back on duty. Thank you, Tony.
All right, thank you, sir.
And bye-bye. Tony Warren, Klickitat County Sheriff's candidate. When we'll come back, we'll mention we're going to get the other two candidates on there coming up next week and some of those other Klickitat County candidates when we return on MCT after this.
Summer's biggest gorge tradition returns, the Hood River County Fair. Bring the whole family for carnival rides, great fairground food, livestock, exhibits, community traditions, and fun for all ages. Saturday night's concert features country hitmakers Black Hawk live on stage. Whether you come for the music, the memories, or the classic county fair experience, there's something for everyone. Concerts are free with fair admission. The Hood River County Fair in Odell, July 22nd through 25th.
Did you know Skyline Health in White Salmon has its very own sports medicine doc superstar? That's right. Dr. Ryan Petering trained at OHSU, cared for professional Nike athletes, and even spent more than 15 years teaching other doctors how it's done. From sporting injuries to arthritis, he's here to help you move better, feel stronger, and keep doing the things you love. Want to live life to its fullest? Step right up and visit myskylinehealth.org. Skyline Health, world-class care right here at home.
Tune in weekday mornings at 8:05 and keep up with community events and issues with the Mid-Columbia Today Show on Mid-Columbia's news leaders, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive.
Those other Klickitat County election interviews Thursday morning. We'll have Andy Callanan with us on the first half of the show, running for Klickitat County Commission. Lori Zoller, the incumbent, is going to be with us Friday morning on the show, and she'll be in the first half as well. On Wednesday the 15th, Klickitat County Sheriff's candidate John Bruce will join us. Thursday the 16th, Gene Klajeski, Klickitat County Commission candidate. On the 17th, Dwayne Matuvalich, Klickitat County Sheriff candidate. Again, you have three races in both of those. In the primary, and the top two advance the general election come November. Tomorrow on this show, because we're already running out of time here, it'll be Leslie Naramore from Mid-Columbia Community Action joins us. Plus, we should have with us as well Darren Ryan for Hood River County Health Department. So they are going to be with us. Thursday, we talk Skyline Hospital, Matt Coleman on Thursday. In the second half of the show after Andy Callanan. Friday, we're scheduled to talk Columbia Gorge Discovery Center. So all that on Mid-Columbia Today. Coming up through the end of the week, which we're still a ways from. It's only Tuesday. We're out of time. For Cameron Eisenberg producing, I'm Mark Bailey. Thank you for being with us. Talk to you again on Wednesday.
Columbia Today Show is a public affairs presentation of Bicoastal Media Columbia River. The views expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the station, parent company, or of the sponsors. We welcome your suggestions for future shows. Call us at 541-386-1511. Listen to Mid-Columbia Today where you want. Follow or subscribe to Mid-Columbia Today wherever you download your podcast to get the show delivered every day to your mobile device.